Hey Rook, I'm afraid we're gonna have to lose the new voice. It seems like the viewers don't seem to like the new voice that you have.
Damn. Here I thought I was getting used to the new voice I like. Oh well, you can't seem to please people these days, even if you offer them a smoke and a pancake. Here goes.
I'm back. So what's the next list to be, sir?
Actually, this next list I'm just gonna have to do the review by myself, but don't worry, I will bring you in the conversation when needed.
I'll be standing by for actions, sir.
Sorry about that, folks. Welcome to the final episode of Halloween Edition. In this list, I'm going to take a look at a very old point-and-click game that I remembered the most as a kid, and that is Scratches on PC. Scratches is a mystery horror adventure that I remember seeing this at my local Target when I used to live at my hometown. The game came out in 2006, which looking at the graphics still looks good in my book. But it's also one of the ones that has like one of the hardest puzzles, but also scared the shit out of me as a kid. But now as an adult, I figure I just reopen this. I look back at certain details that I didn't see it before when I was a kid. So, let us dive in. The opening dialogue is being told by the American author Michael R. Fayette, who is now the owner of the Blackwood Manor. I'll let his opening dialogue set the stage for us.
I arrived at Blackwood Manor one cold Saturday morning amidst a thick veil of fog. The weather didn't look good, and there was an unnatural calm surrounding the area, yet I soon became entangled with the place.
Now, let us talk about our main character, Michael R. Fayette. He is an American author whose successful debut novel, The Vanishing Town, left him with enough wealth to purchase the Blackwood Manor, achieving his longtime dream of owning a Victorian estate. With his old friend Jerry P. Carter, a successful real estate agent, they successfully negotiated the price of the Blackwood Manor, which I gotta say sounds more like the opening of any other Goosebump books 90% of the time. But I digress with that statement. The game takes place on October 12, 1976, on a Saturday no less. The Blackwood estate in question is located outskirts of Rothbury, England. Looking at the manor at the distance, this is something I would purchase if I had enough money for it. It has a beautiful water fountain up front, which I'm not gonna lie is very architectural. Okay, enough of me admiring about the outside of the house, let's just go inside and have a look. The house is very beautiful and very clean, and this is actually dated back in the Victorian era, which is something that I never expected. A spiraled staircase, a grandfather clock, and a fireplace. If this was in America, this would be an American dream.
Hello?
Michael, it's me.
Hey, Jerry. It's good to hear your voice.
I see that piece of junk you got there is working.
My thoughts exactly. I was afraid it'd fall apart as soon as I laid my fingers on it.
That's a very old rotary telephone. They had discontinued ever since the 90s to the year 2000s, though I'm not even sure if they're still here today. Jerry gave Michael a call just to see if he likes the house, which made Jerry curious.
So how did you find everything? Do you like the place?
It's hard to tell yet. I'm very impressed, that's for sure.
You sound odd. Is everything okay?
Yes, it's perfectly fine. It's just that I'm in awe. Pleasantly surprised. This house is like a dream come true.
So you do like it? You got me worried there for 1 second.
I'm telling you, I'm going to turn this place into a factory of horror stories.
Good. You ought to finish that book. I'm rooting for you, mate. You sure everything is in order?
Well, I just got here. Let me have a look around, and I'll get back to you if I find anything strange.
Excellent. I'll talk to you later.
After the phone call, we tried to brighten up the room, and it turns out that there is no power. We'll be phoning him later on that issue. But now, let's explore the house. You have a fireplace living room with a grand piano, which is just lovely. You got some very interesting fine art that are hung on each and every wall of this house. There's a journal that's laying on the coffee table near a bunch of books that belong to Christopher Milton, the previous former owner of the Blackwood Manor. He seems to be troubled by whispers and odd noises that are coming within the house. By what, though, I have no idea. Michael remarked after reading it that it is both disturbing but also made him curious. After that bit of note, we move on to the next room. Yeah, you gotta have to get used to it every time you enter a room. We have a very spacious office with a fireplace, a very oak desk, and of course, collections of books. And then we get to see the original owner's name on the diploma, James Thomas Blackwood. After exploring the office, we see a journal on his desk, but apparently this journal belonged to James Blackwood. By the time that he was writing this, he was doing the construction of a bridge that is in South Africa. In the journal, it mentions about a construction crew that had a concern and fear about a tribe that is in South Africa, known as the Dalmar tribe. Let me be honest here, that as a kid, I didn't seem to bother reading this. Until I gotten older is when I gotten curious about this strange tale. According to the journal, James Blackwood became fixated onto the Dalmar tribe, learning its secrets and its own history. But it also mentions about a graphic detail of the sacrifice itself, how all the members of the tribe pounce on one member by tearing its flesh, bone, and everything, reduced to a bloody red sack. But it also mentions about a mask that was pulled out for a sacrifice. I was ecstatic after reading the journal. The material was incredible. It seems like our boy Michael has another novel to write on. After reading that bizarre journal, we move on to the dining room. The dining room is very beautiful with a chandelier and a curtain in the background. What's so odd about this place is that there's so many candelabras but no candle in sight. We'll get back to it later, but now let us move to the kitchen. The kitchen itself looks impressive, although outdated, which you couldn't even ask more about it. We got the maid's quarters right next to the kitchen, which is a very odd placement for a room like this. But you know, this is a Victorian household, so nothing else to even say about. Michael grabs a piece of paper that looks very important that has markings on it. Michael grabs a pencil out of the drawer in order to make a rubbing of what it says on the piece of paper until he discovered a photo of the kitchen that he walked previously. It shows a photo of a vase and a key that weren't there before, yet it's in the hallway that we saw previously. We'll come back to explore the basement later. Moving upstairs, we have a bathroom, a master bedroom, a guest bedroom, and an African gallery. This is James Blackwood's personal hobby whenever he visits to South Africa. James Blackwood's collections are very impressive. I gotta have to give credit where credit is due. Man, I wish I have some sort of a gallery like this, only this one is gonna be like an art gallery. Which I have to say, great minds think alike, but differently. After admiring the African gallery, we move on to the next room. The master bedroom has nothing of interest except for a safe behind a painting. Guess we'll ask Jerry on that one later, but now let's get unpacking. I should definitely need to find Jerry and Barbara's phone number before we give them the call. I'm deeply surprised that Michael has his own book with him. And what's interesting about it in the back of the cover is that he came from Providence, Rhode Island. Much like H.P. Lovecraft, who also came from Providence, Rhode Island. Which is a very nice touch and a bit of an Easter egg just to share it all. After Michael exploring and admiring the room, we soon discovered that this belonged to Dr. Christopher Milton, the one that was mentioned in the journal from earlier. After we found Jerry and Barbara's phone number, we now head downstairs and make a call.
Hello?
Jerry, it's me.
What's up, Michael?
Everything seems to be fine, except the lights don't work.
Oh, you don't have to worry. I forgot to tell you. I had an electrician, one that I trust, to meet you there this morning. You know how a lack of power can be a recurring issue in old places like that. He should be arriving soon.
Huh, seems like Jerry is one step ahead of me on this electricity problem. Okay, nothing to complain about. Let's call Barbara.
Hello, R8 Productions.
R8 Productions? What in heaven's name was that?
Oh, hi, boss. I was just fooling around.
Well, don't. I don't want people thinking I'm some kind of studio. And don't call me boss.
I'm sorry, it's just that no one was calling and all of a sudden I got excited.
I told you it was going to be that way, girl. But I still need you there. I just hope you're not being bored to death.
Oh, don't worry. I'm studying tongues during my spare time.
This part right here is very important because as a kid, I didn't even caught this until much later, until I made a rubbing of that page.
Hello?
Hey, it's me, Bobby here. I need to ask you a favor.
Bring it on.
I found a letter here, and I'm curious about it. It's in Italian. Do you think you could translate it for me?
My, Mr. Athwaite, are we being naughty?
Mrs. Styles.
Yes, of course I can. Just send me the letter and I'll put hands to work as soon as I have it here.
Excellent. I wonder if the postman will come by. I feel like I'm the last person alive on the whole planet here.
But have you told the post office in Rothbury that you're moving to Blackwood Manor?
Yes, Jerry did. I just hope they don't forget about me, that's all. In any case, thank you. You're such a dear.
That's what I'm here for.
Actually, that's what I'm paying you for. Anyway, I'll go and try mailing that letter.
I'll be standing by for action.
Thanks. Goodbye.
Good luck.
After that phone call, we put the paper inside the envelope and address it to the address that we need to send it to. We're just heading towards the mailbox where we're supposed to meet the electrician outside. I wonder if the electrician is waiting for me at the gate. I wonder where the electrician is. He can't be this far late. Let's put the letter inside the mailbox and... oh wait. Ah shit, the electrician missed me. It's probably during that time when I was unpacking in the second floor upstairs. But the strange thing is, the gate is unlocked. Why couldn't he just barge in? We'll deal with it in just a second. We're gonna have to put the letter inside the mailbox and just call Jerry right away.
Carter Properties.
Jerry, we have a problem.
What happened?
The electrician missed me. He left a note in the mailbox.
Bloody hell. He was supposed to meet you at the gates early this morning. I thought he was just being late.
Damn, then I must have missed him for a few minutes. What the heck am I supposed to do now?
Why don't you go check the fuses yourself? Maybe it isn't that serious.
I don't know. I'm not very good with that kind of thing.
Michael, even my grandmother could improvise a fuse. Just go and look and let me know if you see anything burned.
As in black spots?
Yes, black spots.
All right, I'm on it.
The fuse box in question is located in the basement, which we have to go through the kitchen in order to get there. After finding the key from earlier, we unlock it and go inside. The cheerful piano just disappeared with this unsettling ambience music. I mean, listen. It's so damn unsettling. I checked the fuses in the fuse box and there doesn't seem to be anything wrong with it. No burnt, no black spots, nothing. After escaping out of the basement, we phoned Jerry about the situation.
Hello?
Jerry, all the fuses seem to be fine. I think the problem might be a little more complicated than that.
I see.
What should we do now?
Go get some candles.
You're joking, right?
No, I'm not. I'm calling this guy right away, and I'm afraid he won't be able to stop by until tomorrow. He was already driving there today as a personal favor.
Hearing Michael and Jerry arguing with each other sounds as though they are like an old married couple. After the phone call, we have to find candles inside the house before it gets too dark. Just to save a couple of minutes of exploring, there is absolutely no candles inside the place.
Yes?
Jerry, I'm freaking out. I couldn't find a single candle inside this place.
You're kidding me. I can't believe it. Did you look well?
Yes, every single room, drawer, box, cabinet, nothing. No candles.
All right, listen. The town isn't too far away. No more than 20 minutes drive. If you can't find some candles there, I'll eat my hat.
We hop in our vehicle and... it turns out that Michael had forgotten to turn the lights off. Yeah, his vehicle is out of commission because the battery is so low that he had it on this entire time. Oh boy, let's just break the news to Jerry about this situation.
Let me guess. Michael.
Jerry, you won't believe this. It's insane. My car is dead.
What? Are you sure? Have you checked its pulse?
I'm not joking. It's gone.
My friend.
Yeah, I can't even believe it, Jerry. We're now living in a very cliche horror writing right now. It looks like Jerry won't be coming in to save us until tomorrow. And Michael, doing the Ichabod Crane impression, literally, of course, however, loves his horror stories, yet he's just too goddamn pussy about it. After that phone call, we try to ask Jerry again on two separate things, the previous owner and the safe. I'm gonna ask him about the previous owner.
Do you know anything about the previous inhabitants of this house?
Not much. Just there were some strange individuals. There's also the murder.
You're kidding me. A murder?
Yeah, when I first heard that, I thought this was going to be like an Agatha Christie novels or the case of whodunit. But no, this is something that is completely sinister than that. It seems that James Blackwood had murdered his wife in 1963. Why though, I have no clue. But with the information about May 1963, we could just look it up on the newspaper that is in the attic, which we'll get there later. I called Jerry again just to confirm about the safe combination.
I found a safe box in a room upstairs. Would you happen to know the combination?
I think I should. Let me see. I did take note of the combination once, but I don't have it here right now. I'll give it to you tomorrow. Okay?
Great, thanks.
So, tomorrow it is then. But before we turn in for the night, we have to head upstairs to the attic and look through the newspaper. You can pause here and read it, but to summarize, Mrs. Ava Mariani, the maid that is the Blackwoods, actually took photos of James Blackwood burying Catherine Blackwood in the garden. Which I gotta say is very damning evidence just to actually prove that James Blackwood had committed a murder of some sort. But it also leaves Michael with a lot of questions that are hung in the air that doesn't seem right. We'll figure that part out tomorrow. Time for bed. What in blue blazes is that noise? As a kid, I didn't even know what was actually happening or what was going on in this sequence of events. But it turns out that this is just a dream sequence, and the noise, well, that's coming from the African gallery. Alright, let's see what's going on here. Now wait a minute, a door? In a dream, no less? Now how am I seeing a door in my dream? I was awakened from my strange dream by some odd noises reverberating around the room. As soon as we go closer to the fireplace, it grows louder. I pulled my stethoscope and just have a listen in the fireplace, and yes, it is definitely coming from there, but can't determine the source of it. I rush to the fireplace in the living room and have another listen. And yes, the noises are definitely coming directly below the house, which is actually in the basement. Only one small problem though, he doesn't even have a source of light in order to actually check it out for himself. Back to bed. On day 2, we are awakened by a fierce storm that assaulted the land. It seems like Michael's hope and dreams of having the power being fixed is now long gone. The electrician and Jerry are no longer, of course, showing up to save Michael in this dark infested house.
Hello?
Michael, how are you doing over there? The sky is falling here.
You mean the storm has hit there too? Seems the entire universe is falling here. I'm afraid to go outside.
Well, the better then, as I won't be able to come for you. I'm deeply sorry, but it's seemingly impossible driving to Northumberland. Even less getting anywhere near the manor. I understand many of the roads are closed.
It seems like we're alone in the dark in this infested house. But not before Jerry gives us the combination of the safe.
By the way, Michael, I have the combination for the safe right here.
Oh, great. Tell me.
03211. Just remember to share it if you bump into any expensive jewelry.
Of course I will. Bye.
Opening the safe, we find a spare key to one of the rooms that we couldn't get into, and a bank statement about the construction. It has a phone number at the very bottom of it, which we won't be calling the bank until the next following day. The spare key, on the other hand, goes to one of the other rooms upstairs on the 3rd floor, which I was going to explain it here on the 2nd day. There's been like a lot of constructions going on the 3rd floor, and there's nothing of point of interest, except for 2 rooms that are actually locked. One door being stuck, the other one has a key in it. Allow me to explain the details on the first day when we encountered this door. On day 1, when we were looking for candles, we couldn't even get into this door that's next to the stairway to the attic. It turns out that it's jammed. The other 2 doors that we face across from us, we could just enter just fine. One being, of course, a bathroom that is still under construction, while the other one is a spare bedroom. The door in question underneath the stairs is locked, but Michael, however, sees that there's a key on the other side. Michael, being clever, he took the newspaper near the door and actually shoved it underneath the door and see if he can actually get the key landed on the newspaper. As a kid, this is genius. I removed the piece of paper and noticed that the key had gotten stuck behind the door. Whoever said that dumb technique worked. I didn't even know what was happening at first until I realized that the key is not in my inventory and that it's stuck behind the door. Now that we have a spare key, we could go inside. It turns out that the room that we couldn't get into is an art studio that belonged to Christopher Milton. It seems like Dr. Christopher Milton became your regular Pikmin from the looks of these works. Upon looking around, I noticed a blueprint that is on the table. Apparently, this blueprint is actually the house that James Blackwood wanted to construct, which I find it absolutely interesting and intriguing. I really do like Michael's observation on each and every other room that he's taken a look into. That is until we take a look at the 2nd floor blueprint is when it caught me off guard. Michael says he never seen that room, yet it's near the master bedroom. In fact, there's not even a single room like that of any sorts on day 1. Yet Michael is deeply curious of what is actually inside that room that he couldn't see from the first day. After collecting items from either of the 2 rooms, we ventured onward. After reading the blueprint, we found the entrance of where this room is supposed to be and make a scratching of it with our knife. Whatever's inside, it's sealed away with bricks. Even though Michael was a total complete pussy on day 1, he somehow has balls on day 2 in order to actually get into the secret room. By tying the rope to the lamp that's in the tower and feeding it through the hole, Michael is planning on climbing from the tower and into the 2nd floor window of that mysterious room that he saw on the blueprint. Again, this guy has serious balls just to go in there. I managed to get inside the mysterious room, and mysterious it was indeed. As a kid, I was expecting like some sort of a pentagram room of some sort, but looking at it right now, this sends chills and dread to my very eyes. Everybody has things they wish not to recall into each life. Some rain must fall. James and Catherine Blackwood had a child they wished to forget, and for a very good reason. Because their child died from a mysterious ailment. My brain hums with scraps in poetry and madness. After looking through James Blackwood's journals and his previous life of his journey in South Africa, he seems like he's in the right minds. Yet it doesn't add up as to why he murdered his wife. Because of this, I assume. Yet it leaves more questions than answering. Madness is like gravity. All it needs is a little push. After pondering the dark secrets of this manor, we decided to move the shadow box in the African gallery. And that's the door in the dreams. In the words of Edgar Allan Poe, words have no power to impress the mind without the exquisite horror of their reality. Such utter pitch blackness. Let us light our lantern like stingy Jack wandering in the dark woods. An odd-looking African mask is positioned in the middle of the storeroom. Its presence made me feel terribly uneasy. This mask, right here, is the mask that belonged to the Dolmar tribe. According to James Blackwood's journal, this was used in the sacrifice, that people are being torn into bits. According to the pages of the journal and a letter to Christopher Milton, believing that the curse of the Dolmar tribe is real.
Jerry, it's me. You won't believe what I've found here.
Try me.
It's about the happenings that led to the murder you told me about. There's an impressive backstory surrounding this place and many loose ends. It would seem nobody ever stumbled upon this.
Shouldn't you be working on your book?
Are you listening to me? James Blackwood was into some very weird stuff, and possibly dangerous. Something tells me this case is much more complex than it was thought to be.
Why don't you inform the authorities? I'm sure they'll be dying to reopen a long-forgotten case about some crazy old psycho killing his wife.
No way. And miss all the fun? I'm doing this on my own. I wonder if those noises I heard have anything to do with this. Maybe James Blackwood was trying to hide something.
So Michael seriously believed that James Blackwood is hiding something in the basement, much like the two other rooms he's been hiding. And yet, it's not a very far-fetched to even think about. After that phone call with Jerry, who doesn't seem to believe him at the slightest of everything else that is actually in the Blackwood Manor, he decided to actually work on his book. I don't exactly know what this has entailed, but it seems like Michael is so much curious about the manor, its history. And with that, he turns in for the night. Something doesn't feel right. There's no scratching noises, no banging of the hammer in the distance, nothing. I'm very curious what is going on in the African gallery, since we already discovered that door. Everything seems the same. Still compelled though. Ah, shit. Here we go again. We awoke again from an odd dream, from those strange noises from last night. We make our way to the kitchen and actually be prepared of what's inside the basement. As I descend to the basement, I can hear the noises coming through that wall where the furnace is actually faced at. Even though Michael has balls of going through the window and actually climb down into the second floor, now he has more balls of going in the furnace. After climbing through, we saw what appears to be a cell door. What in the absolute fuck was that? It seems like we have an intruder inside the house, but it seems like we're not dealing with an ordinary enemy. Someone is definitely inside that cell door that we just saw just now. As we rush up the stairs, Michael as though he's about to faint from whatever he saw tonight. The last drop of oil inside the lamp had been consumed. Well, what now? I was too confused to think straight and decided, almost against my will, to return to bed. Seriously? He's gonna go to bed after witnessing what was happening down there. I mean, what choice do we have here? Just get up out of nowhere and just leave this manor for good? I mean, it's pitch black out there, and Jerry is pretty much asleep at this time of night. Realizing we have no option, we go to bed. Sounds like a case of the Mondays to me. Michael says that this is the third and final day in the Blackwood Manor. He needed to solve what exactly happened to the Blackwoods and also what is happening inside the house. Just to recap from James Blackwood's journal, he spent most of his time in South Africa by constructing the bridge and collecting artifacts in that region until he discovered the Dalmar tribe. The mask that is in the secret storeroom belonged to the Dalmar natives in the South Africa, the one that was described to be using as a ritual sacrifice. Why the hell James Blackwood took it with him, I have no clue. It still doesn't explain about three things are at stake here, such as James and Catherine Blackwood's child died from a mysterious ailment, Catherine's death in 1963, and Christopher Milton being paranoid that something inside the house is coming after him. James Blackwood is the first to have this paranoia just before Christopher Milton fell the exact same way as James shortly after. Yet I'm missing a bigger picture here.
Who is it?
It's me.
The ghost hunter. Any contact with the other world yet?
Actually, I'm not sure. Jerry, I'm definitely not alone in this house.
What are you talking about?
Last night I saw something down below. It was moving. I wasn't dreaming, and I'm not making this up.
Are you sure it wasn't a mutant rat?
Definitely no rat.
Jerry half believes Michael and was about to call the police, but Michael prevented him from calling the police because he's dealing with an intruder that is no ordinary intruder at all inside the house.
And I want to figure this out by myself.
Have you taken leave of your senses?
Just promise me you won't call anyone. I can do this on my own.
Whatever. Just call me if you need any help. I'm driving there today.
Right. Bye.
And with that, we are pretty much set free to walk around the entire property. There were 4 places that I forgot to mention on day 1. The garage, the chapel, the greenhouse, and a mausoleum. The problem with those 4 places is that you need a key or possibly a tool in order to actually gain access to those 4 places. Take for example the greenhouse door that is rusted shut and you need to oil it in order to gain access to. The key to the garage can be found in the art studio if you have not picked it up in day 2. Now Monday becomes hard with its own puzzles and you need specific tools in order to actually solve the puzzle in order to progress through. There's a lot of mysteries to uncover that fills into the gap itself, such as like calling up the bank just to see if James Blackwood's account is still active. I'll let the narration play it out.
Good day, the National Bank of Northumberland. Robert Blake speaking.
Hello, Robert. I need some help. It's about James Thomas Blackwood. Do you have a customer called that?
I'm sorry, sir. I can't give you that kind of information.
My name is Christopher Milton, a renowned doctor and good friend of the Blackwood family, and I demand some respect.
All right, sir. Please, just hold on for a few moments. Ah, yes. I have a customer listed as James Blackwood here.
Good. I need to know about any recent banking activity in this account.
What kind of banking activity, sir?
Well, you tell me. Any withdrawals, payments?
Look, sir, I'm really sorry, but I can only give that information to Mr. Blackwood himself.
So that means the account is still active?
Well, yeah. It means I can't give you this information, sir. You said your name was...
I won't waste your time anymore. Good day.
So it's clear that his bank account is still active. You only get one playthrough in the dialogue choices. After collecting tools and useful items that we need in most of our journey, we proceed forward to the mausoleum. The path to the mausoleum is through the back door through the kitchen, but not before we release the water valve that is actually in the basement. There, that did the trick. Time for the mausoleum. It's worth noting that you need the wire cutters in order to gain entry to the mausoleum, but it also leaves me curious as to who in the world would actually do this. The foul smell of rotting flesh seemed to have preceded throughout the years. In front of us there's two coffins, one for Catherine, the other for James Blackwood. Just to recap from the news article, Ava Mariani only saw James Blackwood burying Catherine Blackwood in the garden, which she actually had photo evidence of. And as for James on the other hand, we don't exactly know for sure what he died of, either by natural causes or by something else. Yet James died the same year that Catherine was allegedly murdered. As a kid, seeing that empty coffin made me think that James Blackwood is alive, but with his account still active, which we'll get back to that in just a moment. But for now, let's just figure out the dingy dark place that is actually the basement of this mausoleum. This part right here becomes tedious but also successful on the second time. Well, you see, you find this rock in front of the plaque, then you pick it up, toss it at the window, which it misses, then you have to find the exact same rock down in the basement, and then toss it again at the window. For this part, you need to combine the wire and the mirror and hung onto the candelabra mounted wall, which shines the light down into the basement. The plaque is badly eroded, but you could just make it out that it says R on it. Remember the wooden blocks that are in the nursery room that we get into the window? Well, it turns out that the letters in the nursery meant to spell out a name. Robin. There's also numbers right next to the letters, which is going to be very important very much later. Well then, it's time to leave. Michael stops and thinks something was evidently out of place here. And Michael's right, because there's two coffins at this point. One for Catherine and one for James. Both of them died in 1963, yet we don't know exactly what happened to James Blackwood, or his body for that matter, after we uncover his coffin.
Yes?
Hi, Jerry.
Michael, I was worried about you. Are you doing okay?
Yes, I'm fine, and I think I know the identity of my intruder.
Tell me, who is it?
James Blackwood. I mean James Blackwood himself, alive in this house.
James Blackwood, who at this point would have been 69 years old. I mean, it could explain about his bank account still being active, as a possible theory, but it still doesn't even explain about any of it. That is until Jerry pointed out something.
Yes, by turning into a ghost. Wait a minute. Yeah, I have it right here. James Blackwood passed away on June 1963. Would you please stop this?
Yeah, you heard that correctly. He passed away a month after Catherine's murder. After that phone call, we head upstairs to the attic and look for the newspaper of June 1963. It says here that James Blackwood died of a heart attack, allegedly due to the pressure and stress of being accused of Catherine's murder. But it also has Chief William Bailey's phone number that is scribed onto the newspaper. Recognizing the handwriting, it looks as though it belonged to Dr. Christopher Milton. It looks as though he was planning on calling Bailey at some point or another, but couldn't. The phone call conversation is long, but I will put a timestamp just to summarize this entire event.
Who is this?
Hi, are you Mr. William Bailey?
That's me. And you are?
Yes, my name is Michael Arthate. I'm a journalist for a local newspaper in Rothbury.
I see. And what's this all about?
Well, you're the former police chief of this town, aren't you?
Indeed. I served many years ago.
And you were once in charge of a famous, or should I say, infamous case here?
Oh, bloody hell. Don't tell me this is about James Blackwood.
Well, yes, I'm writing a story for my newspaper. The most famous police cases of Northumberland.
Have you got any idea how many times I've talked about this? Go to your nearest library. I'm sure you'll find plenty of information about Blackwood there.
Please, Mr. Bailey, I beg you. It won't be the same if I can have the information from someone who was there, and no less than the renowned William Bailey of Rothbury.
All right, son, spare me the nonsense. What is it you want to know?
Well, in the first place, what did Ava Mariani see exactly?
She saw enough, son. James Blackwood was dragging a shape into a hole in the garden. At first, Mrs. Mariani couldn't realize what it was, but eventually she made out the dead body of Catherine Blackwood with a serious wound.
And Blackwood was automatically deemed guilty?
He was found digging his wife's son.
Why did James Blackwood never appear before a jury?
When you're someone as renowned and famed as James Blackwood was, you can pretty much avoid the authorities. However, you can't avoid justice. And justice was brought upon James Blackwood.
Justice? How?
He died shortly after the accusation. You should know about that.
What happened to Dr. Christopher Milton?
How should I know? You bet your life that slimy worm was up to something. I couldn't prove it, though I spent years investigating him. A shame we couldn't implicate him as much as James Blackwood.
Are you saying he could have had something to do with the murder?
Blackwood and Milton were very intimate. Milton did the impossible to aid his friend, and even clear his name after he died. You do the math.
And was ever determined the cause of death of Catherine Blackwood?
Yes, partly. Mrs. Mariani managed to see her throat was slit open. Ripped, she would say. It must have been horrible for the poor girl.
Still, everything sounds so vague, as if something were missing.
Are you questioning my performance on this case, son?
No, sir, not at all. I'm just trying to figure this out, like why a proper autopsy was never done.
An autopsy to whom?
Please, sir, this is very important to me, and I could really use your help. I'm trying to fit all the pieces of this mystery together.
Mystery? What mystery? You must be one of those people that just love splitting hairs, don't you?
I don't think I understand, sir.
Listen, son, that cold-blooded bastard murdered his wife, God knows why. But he and his fancy doctor did the impossible to hamper our investigations. You don't have to be a brilliant detective to realize Blackwood did it.
There's always a reason behind a murder. Nobody has ever found out why Blackwood did what he did.
Psychopaths don't need any reasons. And James Blackwood turned into one, precisely.
There's got to be something else. I can't believe Blackwood flipped just like that one sunny day. It doesn't make any sense.
People flip, son. You could be flipping right now without knowing it.
Well, then tell me how Blackwood reacted when you pulled his wife from beneath the ground.
I beg your pardon.
I mean Catherine Blackwood's body when you dug in the garden of the manor.
Like I said, they hampered the investigation. We never managed to set one foot inside the manor. What kind of bloody journalist are you, son?
But are you telling me you never actually retrieved the body?
That's exactly what I'm telling you. Now, if you don't mind,
But wait, this doesn't make any sense.
Stop wasting my time, damn it. I was enjoying my retirement until you had the brilliant idea of calling me. I don't want to hear anything else about this case ever again.
Please, Mr. Bailey, don't...
Leave me alone.
To summarize, Chief William Bailey never set foot inside of the Blackwood Manor, mainly due to James Blackwood's wealth and fame, and Dr. Christopher Milton covering things up. In short, they never uncovered and retrieved the body of Catherine Blackwood just to do an autopsy on her. Which sort of begs the question, who is in the crypt that is actually in the coffin? It was obvious that it was James Blackwood who is in the crypt and not Catherine. As a kid, at first I thought it was Catherine Blackwood who is actually in the coffin, and not realizing after the phone call conversation with William Bailey that it turns out that it is not Catherine in the crypt. Catherine is still buried somewhere in the garden. This well-translated letter mentions about a photo being stashed away in the floorboard underneath a nightstand in the maid's quarters. And sure enough, there it is. There's the photo of James burying Catherine Blackwood. The shadow of the tower shows where Catherine Blackwood is being buried at, which is going to be important. Upon entering the greenhouse, we notice a shiny bit that is on the ground. It's trapped behind a grate which is impossible to get, which you need the running water that we turned on just earlier ago in order to wash it through. Upon exploring and trying to get items that are actually in the greenhouse, we turn the water on just to free the shovel first and then having the water run through the grate. The shovel is going to be important just to uncover Catherine Blackwood's body later on. The object in question that got washed up in the pond near the tree turns out to be a key. But this is no ordinary key. This is a key that is to a locked drawer that is actually, of course, needed a key. So where, you may ask? It's in James Blackwood's desk in his private study. I remember there was a locked drawer somewhere in day one, but forgot about it until way later. First, there's a handwritten letter from Dr. Christopher Milton to Catherine Blackwood, the moments before her murder. He says that James Blackwood is becoming increasingly paranoid and deranged, and he's feared that Catherine would be harmed in this excursion, thinking and believing that the Dolmar curse is real. But it also mentions about a separate private matter that I don't know exactly what they're talking about. And then there's the lockbox. Remember the code that I just mentioned earlier about rearranging the letters into numbers? Well, I told you this is going to be important to this lockbox later on. But it also asks another question though. Why James Blackwood has his kid's name as a lock code? I would assume guilt of what exactly happened to him according to the newspaper that we read from day 2. Unless of course he's harboring something that he's not telling us about. After opening the lockbox, it looks as though it's nothing, except that it has a hidden panel on the very bottom of the lockbox. Somehow I'm getting this impression that James Blackwood, however, is afraid that somebody else would just steal his money out of the lockbox. But there's also a key to the chapel. So just to recap everything else, just so that way we're not missing here. In order to get the key to the chapel, you would have to get the key to the locked drawer on James's desk and then finding out the code through the blocks that spells out Robin. Now keep in mind, this entire thing is just a total backtracking just to get into the drawer and then the lockbox. After that Easter egg hunting, we finally get to the chapel. Nothing seems unusual, but the thing just kind of bothers me is that I never pictured James as a religious man. Thinking back on his journals and also the letters to Christopher Milton, we see him as an architectural engineer who built that bridge in South Africa and then accidentally uncovered the Dolmar tribe when the construction crew pointed out to him. His obsession with the Dolmar history just led to him just taking the mask just to further study of its origins. Or maybe there's more story to this than we initially thought. After picking up the metal spike and place it back on the wooden cross of Jesus, the INRI sign is tilted. We tried to fix it back in place, but nothing happened. That is until we uncovered the hidden floor panel behind the altar. It looks as though James Blackwood was hiding something down below. It's utter pitch blackness, and there is no power just like in the house. But there's something in the corner of the room that Michael hasn't seen in a while. A candle. We are now in James Blackwood's secret study. There's a letter on the desk that is addressed to Christopher Milton, and he seriously believes that the curse from the Dolmar tribe is real. The voices, the paranoia, all linked to the very mask that he stole from the Dolmar native. It says here that he needs to become as a murderer, and the murder needs to take place, in part of the ritual that needs to be, of course, completed. Just like the Dolmar tribe of how they sacrifice a useless member or an unnecessary child in order to complete the ritual, which it seems graphic in details, but it all makes sense of what happened to Catherine. There's a journal that details that he is one of the leading scholars of knowing the history of the Dolmar natives that is linked back to the Bushmen of South Africa. Cannibalism and inbreeding for 20,000s of years. But it also mentions about an evil god that is bound inside of a mask called Dolom. According to the Dolmar tribe's description, he is an anthropomorphic cat beast that pierces the very flesh and souls alike with his sharp claws. The Dolmar natives were in fear that this god would be released from the mask, and that is the reasons why they kept this at bay with the rituals. After reading the tragic history, we pick up a piece of wood and head outside of the chapel. It seems now we are dealing with an evil spirit that is inhabiting inside the house. We tried to call Jerry just to explain about the situation of what we found, but it seems like he's singing a different tune.
Yes?
Jerry, it's me.
Michael, I was about to call you.
Why?
I've been thinking about what you told me, and you could be onto something there, but I'm worried about your safety now. This could be dangerous.
What do you mean by dangerous?
Well, let's suppose you're right, and James Blackwood is indeed hiding somewhere inside the house. He's a madman, a murderer, and your life could be in danger.
Jerry, if James Blackwood is still alive, he'd be nothing more than a harmless, decrepit old man. I don't think I'd have any problem outdoing him.
And what if he is armed?
I'm willing to take that risk. He surely knows I'm here by now. What if he's waiting for me to leave so that he can escape? I can't miss this opportunity.
The opportunity of what, for Christ's sake?
Of knowing. I'm already too much into this, Jerry. And if I don't know what happened inside this house, I won't be able to sleep again.
You're obsessed. You were supposed to finish your book, get some rest, and now look at this. What are you going to say to your editor?
Who knows, maybe this whole episode inspires me to write that ending. I'm sorry. I can't leave this now, Jerry. It's too late.
I can't believe this. I don't understand you. Doesn't the possibility of spending another night in that house with a creepy old man hiding in the basement scare you?
I know what you're trying to do. Goodbye, Jerry.
Michael? Michael! It's dangerous, do you hear me? Dangerous! You have to leave that place!
I'll keep you informed.
It seems like Jerry is urging Michael to leave that place, but for what reason, I don't know. That is until we discover the letter that addressed that Jerry had made a crooked real estate deal with us, which it could explain why Jerry never came for Michael on day 2 and day 3. Now it's up for our boy Michael to find a way to escape out of the Blackwood Manor and the property. We take the battery out of his car and then place it in front of the bicycle that is in the garage. We pedaled it to recharge the battery, and then we can make our escape. And Michael, feeling the sense of the responsibility of what is happening around the manor, he decided to just stick around and figure out a way how to defeat the evil. It seems like Michael is obsessed with the secrets that he just uncovered that is around the Blackwood Manor. He would not leave and rest until he figures out what is happening around the Blackwood Manor. Now it is time to uncover Catherine Blackwood's body. I was equally terrified and saddened upon uncovering the dead body of Catherine Blackwood. All those years, she was left to rot in this improvised tomb. Doing my best to contain my repulsion, I pulled out a tooth from the body. I quietly left, bearing Miss Blackwood back to her dead, cold dreams. After this sad, grim discovery, we are now beginning the ritual.
The funeral is about to begin, sir.
The ritual required a sacred plant, the piece of a victim, and the victimizer, and also a sacred branch. All of them combined as a sacred amulet to perform the ritual. We already got 3 parts of it, now we need the 4th and final one, which is of course the piece of the victimizer. The walkthrough suggests that I have to go back to the African gallery just to snag this lion claw. After that, we have to go back to the kitchen and grind those 2 items. Hearing the tooth and the claw just being grinded up in the grinder has that SMR feel to it. I'm not entirely sure why, but it has that oddly satisfying sound to it, which is complete morbid because we are piecing together of an amulet. Heading back upstairs, we combine the tooth and the claw and also the mistletoe and just put them together on top of the stove and light it. The amulet is finally complete, but we have whispers and breathing in the distance. Listen. It's Delon taunting us. He's waiting for us in the storeroom that is in the African gallery. Yet, we're prepared. At first, nothing seemed to happen, but then the atmosphere felt lighter, as if the house had been relieved of a monstrous burden. We have finally vanquished the evil that is Delon in the imprisonment of that mask. Yet there's something that doesn't seem right. We already know that James and Catherine Blackwood died in 1963, and Christopher Milton disappeared in 1970. Yet I wonder who... I stood there paralyzed in terror as I heard those horrible noises again. They just don't stop. The scratching noises are coming from in there. The fireplace. As I went down the fireplace, I couldn't shake the feeling I entered a forbidden zone, a place that had been and was supposed to remain forgotten in time. That's the door that we saw from last night. This looks as though this is a dungeon of some sort. I mean, that explains about the barred door that we saw from that other night. My only question is, who's down here? Looking around the room, we see a teddy bear that's on the ground. Upon looking closely, it appears it has bite marks of where the neck is ripped. And then I realized this teddy bear would have belonged to Robin Blackwood if he survived from childbirth. Yet I wonder, who could have been? After looking at the teddy bear, we hear noises coming from that hole in the wall. Someone or something is definitely down here. This I remember for the very, very longest.
Unsure of what I had just seen, I raced my car and left Blackwood Manor as quickly as possible. I'm not ashamed of what I did. That disfigured face is still stalking my nightmares, and I've never put foot inside a Victorian house ever since. But there's certainly one thing that I'm grateful for. It was thanks to my encounter below that house that I was able to finish my book and become a prolific writer.
This ending bit is disturbing because it shows that the thing managed to escape out of the basement. And there you have Scratches, a very classic point-and-click adventure game I remember back years ago. I'll let my colleague explain about the story as the credits are rolling.
The creature that is in the dungeon basement is Robin Blackwood, the presumed dead child of the Blackwood family. He was born with deformity and the severe malformations. James, Catherine, and doctors Christopher Milton kept Robin Blackwood hidden from the public due to the deformity and how dangerous he could have been by eating flesh.
As a kid, I thought it was James Blackwood, but I was young and not even realizing that it was Robin Blackwood this entire time. I guess that explains the separate issue that Christopher and Catherine were talking about. Let me just summarize it in a short story. James Blackwood stolen the mask from the Dalmar native in order to actually conduct a further investigation on its history of the Dalmar tribe, which it linked back to the Bushmen of South Africa 20,000 years ago. After taking that mask and doing research to it, it gives off the negative feeling to the house and his surrounding, making him seriously believe that the curse is real due to the paranoia and the whispers, the noises, even including, of course, Robin's deformity as a result. He's been researching on that mask for many years, only with this information came late about a ritual that needed to be performed, which had never been performed for many years. Which it could explain the letter to Dr. Christopher Milton, how he needed to become as a murderer in order for the ritual to be complete. Which it could explain what happened to Catherine, but she was not intended as a ritual, but rather James Blackwood's son being part of the ritual that needed to be completed. Catherine tried to take Robin Blackwood with her, only to be attacked by her son by chewing on her neck. And the rest that we know fell into place. James Blackwood burying Catherine only to be accused as a murderer, and then a month later died of a heart attack, which Christopher Milton took over the Blackwood Manor afterwards. 7 years later, Christopher Milton disappeared in 1970, 6 years before Michael became the new owner. Although I seriously doubt that Christopher Milton had disappeared since 1970. So what exactly do I mean? Well, it's simple. James Blackwood's bank account is still active. Blake, the bank financier, can only give that information to Mr. James Blackwood, despite the fact that he passed away in 1963. My best theory is that Christopher Milton took on the identity of James Blackwood and just skipped town. You would think it would have something to do with the money that he just left with, but no, it's mainly due to him just leaving the house because he hears noises. The very same noises that James Blackwood was driven in paranoia, much in the same way as Christopher Milton is doing. And for whatever else reasons, drove him to the point of just leaving that place, because of that cursed mask that James brought. And as for Robin Blackwood, on the other hand, he suffers far different than the rest of them, such as like his deformity, severe malformation, his rapidly aging and decaying, while he was being in the dungeon for far too long. All of it is linking back to the mask that is from the Dalmar tribe. I mean, that's the only logical explanation, yet there's nothing more to it in the matter, in theory-wise. But now let's get to the very disappointment that just tears down every single last theory in milliseconds.
The Last Visit. The game takes place almost 20 years ago, the 1976, when Michael first discovered the truth in Blackwood Manor. It's the 90s now, and we play as an investigative journalist who needed to uncover the truth about what happened in Blackwood Manor. The biggest disappointment is the overall story. Michael, our original protagonist, who spent 3 days at Blackwood Manor, hasn't mentioned to any people about what he discovered there. And Jerry P. Carter of the Carter Properties, convicted to 8 years in prison, and is doing community service. Nobody gives a shit about Jerry, but for Michael, not talking about what happened in Blackwood Manor is absurd. He's a story writer for bloody fuck's sakes, and you are telling me he didn't feel like tell anybody what he just found there. This right here is already shit the bed in this one.
Yeah, this is one of the more reasons why I don't like this one.
The game starts and... Wait a minute, there's voice acting. Sir, didn't you say the game doesn't have voice acting when reading the texts?
Yeah, the only time I ever hear Michael talk is as if he was talking on the phone with either Jerry, Barbara, or the other two characters, but not in the entire game. And this is one of the reasons why I don't like this at frickin' all.
After bitching about that, we entered the house. The once cozy home has been vandalized, graffiti, and stolen items from the property. It looks more like a crack den.
It really is sad to see this laid in ruins. After seeing the sad vandalism of what is happening inside the house, we go into the dungeon.
The dungeon that once of Robin Blackwood inside is nowhere to be found, and now the cats took shelter. My guess is that he either left through the door where Michael came in from, or dug himself a hole he crawled out of in the front lawn. There's physical evidence of a hole near the stairs to the house as soon as entering the house. It seems Robin succeeded on digging a hole out of the dungeon after all. We pour water on a cat that's living inside the hole in order to get a doorknob to the kitchen. Again, the house has full of loot that they resorted to steal doorknobs in the house, like copper pipes.
After collecting the doorknob and entering the kitchen, we see that the kitchen is in disrepair. Again, this made me sad just to see the entire house being in disrepair, especially in the kitchen for all places.
We go downstairs to the basement to grab a rag and soap for some reasons are in the basement before heading to the second floor of the house.
Before we even go any further to the bathroom, which is the end game, let's check every single last room.
The once room that belongs to Dr. Christopher Melton, and later Michael, is completely bare in this room. But one thing that stuck out the most in this room is Michael's suitcase in the corner. It really implies that he left there without as much taking his things with him, mainly due to Robin coming after him.
The master bedroom is pretty much in disrepair, much like Christopher Milton's. Although there is one item that really pissed me the fuck off.
A bottle of thalidomide.
Are you being fucking serious right here? Bottle of thalidomide. Okay, for modern medicines, it is used for cancer patients, but back then this was over-the-counter medication for people who are pregnant. Thalidomide is a compound that was developed in the 1950s by the West German. It was originally intended as a sedative or tranquilizer, but was soon used for treating a wide range of other conditions, including colds, flu, nausea, and morning sickness in pregnant people. The thing about thalidomide is that it causes a very serious birth defects. Now, this is completely stupid. That makes me to believe that Robin is one of those thalidomide babies that are actually, of course, being affected too. And this is one of the reasons why I completely disliked The Last Visit. Aside from me bitching, we go into the secret storeroom where the mask is being stored at, and surprisingly, it's no longer there. That is until you go to the bathroom, clean the window, and pull back the shower curtain to see that the mask is in the bathtub.
I can't tell exactly why, but I don't like this mask one bit.
Now, how the fuck did it ended up in the bathtub, I don't know. But it's strange enough just to see it being positioned like that. The journal just steps out of the bathroom, walks to the end of the hallway, and hears something else coming from the bathroom, and go and check it out.
The journalist goes back in, pulls the shower curtains to see Robin Blackwood, which he doesn't look like the one in the basement in the vanilla game. And the cutscene is atrocious.
To summarize all of this, Robin Blackwood chases after the journalist, which he fell from the second floor, only to be saved by Dr. Christopher Milton, who showed up out of nowhere, and Robin just killed him. This entire thing, like I said, is so goddamn unnecessary that it spoiled the atmosphere of how creepy it was in the original vanilla game.
As I hurriedly left Blackwood Manor, I tried putting together what I just experienced, to no avail. I was in shock and couldn't think clearly, and it took many days until I was ready to pass judgment on what I'd seen. The Blackwood estate has now been demolished, and I have arrived at a conclusion. It is clear that the Blackwood family, with the help of this Dr. Milton, kept their son hidden from the public as he was suffering from severe malformations. It is unclear whether he was truly dangerous, or the Blackwoods were simply psychotic. Quite possibly one thing led to another, and this situation ended with the death of Catherine Blackwood. We can finally give some closure to this sad episode in the peaceful town of Rothbury. And yet, there's something I can't quite explain. A missing link, something that just doesn't fit. We may never know what the real heart of the mystery is. But for the time being, this will have to do.
Now, how the fuck did the mask from the Dolmar tribe survive from the demolish of the house? I don't know. So there you have it. An awesome game that doesn't need this necessary story just to drive home the point. I also forgot to mention that there is an alternate ending if you have the director's cut. The original copy that I have doesn't have the director's cut, and I got the vanilla ending. But it involves with you just clicking on the typewriter multiple times in order to actually get the alternate ending, which is not worth the effort. With that being said, thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon.